Yeah, I'm Will,
Faran.
and this is Cardboard Minute, and what you see here is Isofarian Guard. We just finished Campaign 1, so don't look too closely at the cards. I don't think you can see them in the video anyways. We're not filming in 4K, but it is just past 2 in the morning, which is not our latest, but it's pretty late, and especially since we have been playing this nearly every day for the last couple weeks.
I'd say, yeah.
Because, and make note here, we are technically being paid to do a playtest of this game. We are one of the last groups, if not the last group, to run through the game with the fine-tooth comb, looking for anything from spelling to balance issues to wording of rules and whatnot, and testing out some last-minute things from the designer before the game goes to print. And which should be hopefully at the end of the month or the next month or so. It's I'm sure backers are looking forward to getting this, and we can tell you it is very close, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna go, whether it's ready or not, but. Our game's ever ready.
Well, yeah. There's always second printings and things of that nature, but where things are improved based on hordes of gamers commenting on things that need adjusting on all games, most games. There's a few games that are perfect in the first printing and they hit the nail right on the head. But this game is pretty close to done, and we're excited to kind of be able to experience it and play test it and maybe give a chance of a little bit of a preview here. So
this is our first time doing a paid play test. This is not a paid review.
Yeah,
we're essentially being paid to be brutally honest to the designer so that he can take our feedback and improve upon it. But of course, if you don't like the game, please don't blame us. It's not our fault. And it has been a really interesting process, and we'll do another video on just the process itself and what I think we've learned as gamers and what we've experienced working hand in hand with the designer, seeing some of the changes, because this is almost still in active development at this point. Because we'll run into something that wasn't quite clear or didn't quite work, and then within hours or the next day we get sent a revised card or rule or map or something that clarifies whatever the problem was. So there's a lot of feedback. It's been really great. Eric, the designer, has just been fantastic. He's been
amazing,
getting us every file we need. He's been answering our messages late at night, or taking a break from watching a play with his kids or a show that his kids are in, so he can quickly answer some rule questions so he can keep going. He's just been fantastic, and I guess we're going to give our impressions on the game, the first campaign. Now, of course, we only tested the first campaign.
Yeah, we only went into the first campaign. The game itself is very expensive. There's, I believe, 6 campaigns in the first box, and
I would argue it's for what the content it has in it. It's very cheap.
Yeah, you're getting your money's worth. Like, you are probably going to get, I'd say, maybe 300 hours out of this game if you play it front to end. From front cover to back cover of the campaign book. So if you go through everything, you'd be at this thing for quite a while.
That is also a warning, because we have found that the game is a bit of a grind, and I think that if you enjoy that sort of thing, then you'll have a great time. And the combat and the story, more of the combat. We'll get back to the story, but and we'll probably do more of a review style thing later. But the combat is flexible enough, and there's enough variety in creatures that. And you grow throughout the campaign that even though you're doing a lot of the same sort of thing, there's enough variability that we didn't really get bored over that much time. And we also only got to play as 2 characters.
Right.
Each campaign has 2 different characters that are its focus. So there are a whole bunch more characters that we haven't even seen what they do.
Right.
And I guess the stories will crisscross. We're going to avoid any kind of spoilers.
We won't talk about any spoilers whatsoever. We want to make sure this is a kind of spoiler-free review, not a review, just a kind of an impressions video. Again, the components even that we have are prototype, so everything is not final.
Pretty nice though. Like we are playing with near final poker chips.
Oh, these are
and cards and dual layer boards. Game trays. We are playing with pretty close to final.
One thing that I will tell you,
but it's still being tweaked.
It's still being tweaked, but even in the prototype state, the components are top notch. Just even while I'm sitting there waiting to take my turn, I kind of just pull into my bag and these chunky
the bags.
The bags are really heavy
bags
duty.
Have labels on them,
and you're just kind of
printed.
Pulling these big poker chips out of your bag, and so it's really satisfying, kind of just engaging in combat, which is a key part of the game. You're fighting a whole heck of a lot in this game, and that's kind of how you're leveling up your characters. So yeah, we can go into a little bit of that and kind of discuss our impressions on that.
Yes, the combat I found does start off slow.
Yep.
When you begin the campaign, your characters can't do very much, and it will the cadence will rise and fall as you build up to the end of the chapter, and then get through the boss, and then all of a sudden, you don't lose anything, but all the difficulty level rises up,
ramps up right away,
and things slow down again, and then you build more equipment and more skills, and you find new cool things to do, and you get better and better, and then next chapter, and then you kind of repower up, and kind of you're leveling up at the same pace as the enemies. So I like that concept where it's you're kind of powering up, and as soon as you have enough strength to combat the highest difficulty enemies, that's the 2-level, 3-level enemies in the next chapter. It kind of brings you down to earth. So all right, you need to do some more work to get to the next set of enemies, in the next chapter. And that'll be I think that's our biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
If you were a backer of this game or you just buy it fresh from the store, take your time exploring the map, fighting enemies, and leveling up. Because if you just follow the story, like a horse with a carrot, you will be almost railroaded into the next chapter. In which case, the difficulty suddenly jumps, and you may find yourself unable to really make much progress in that next chapter. So take your time, get some gear, get some skills. Try to have most of your equipment at the same star level as the chapter level, and you should be okay to move at a steady pace on that point.
Yeah, and that's where the fun is. But talking about the combat itself, if you're progressing at the right pace, it's so much fun. For me personally, I enjoyed the puzzle every round of what chips you're drawing, which is not always the same. Because you're at the mercy of your bag a little bit, as with any kind of bag or deck builders. You kind of limited with the chips or cards that you draw. In this case, it's chips. But using those chips to activate cards on your character that give you certain stats for that round in terms of hit points, and you combo those hit points with your base stats that your character has progressed up to that point. So you have a number of base statistics in terms of the standard hit points. The attack points and the defense points, and you use those stats and boost those with the cards that you have, and you use your chips to activate those cards. And the neat thing is, even if you have the chips, you're limited by a certain number of action points, which are represented by cubes that you're managing as well. So it's another resource that you're kind of managing those action point cubes with the cards and the chips. So it's a neat little puzzle that you go into every round of battle, which is really satisfying when you can kind of combo the right cards with the right chips, and you can pull off some really cool and powerful hits certain times. And
you will see some bosses, some of the higher level enemies, but especially the bosses will make some interesting use of the various mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
And also combo things in unique ways that I'm hoping we'll see more of in the later characters.
Yeah. Yeah, and the variety of chips, there's good chips, there's temporary chips, and then there's bad chips, and then there's bad temporary chips, and certain enemies will fill your bag with bad chips, and that you're pulling, you're like, oh, I can't do anything this round, and it's it's really really interesting. And one thing I didn't mention, the cards flip back and forth. So cards have double-sided. So once you use a card for certain characters, it flips over, and other characters have to use abilities to flip their cards. And then there's different abilities and powers on the other side of the card. So you're kind of managing the timing of the flipping of those cards back and forth to get it to a point where, you can get that perfect combo and, do a bunch of damage to an enemy, which is really satisfying. So that part of the game I really enjoyed. So kudos to the team on getting that kind of entertaining feeling of combat in this game, which I tremendously enjoyed.
So that's all very good news. The core mechanic of the game is good. And how about the story? What do you find about that? Without spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. I really enjoyed the setting of the world. They're setting the stage for this grand big world that these soldiers are, these troops are a part of the Guard, as it's in the name of the game. It's a big box, by the way.
It's huge. We're talking like Gloomhaven size.
It's massive. So and it's heavy to pick up because of the chips too. So be careful when you're lifting this. So yeah, it's very cool setting. It's a unique world. So it's based off of I guess a combination of a whole different. Again, I won't get into the nitty gritty of it, but I enjoy
because that might spoil some things.
It might spoil.
Compare too closely.
Yeah, so I'll stay away from comparisons, at least for the purpose of this video. But I enjoyed it tremendously, the world. In terms of the story building and the character building, it was a little bit slow in terms of who these characters are that we're controlling. I'm sure we only played the first chapter, so I think that'll grow as we go along with the narrative. But it's got some cool intrigue to the world and kind of who we are and how we got these abilities that we're wielding throughout the game, and how we're interacting with the characters that we encounter throughout the campaign. So I enjoyed the story, and I'm curious to see where it goes in future chapters, which we didn't play, future campaigns. What do you think?
So as far as the story goes, like I said, I really enjoyed the setting. I did find that there was not enough character growth. I would have liked to see more interactions throughout the map. There were a couple of side quest lines that had little bits of story attached to them, but not nearly enough. I think it's a shame that they've built this huge world and have this giant map with nodes all over the places you can visit, and nothing special happens at any of them.
Right, it's different enemies that you encounter at various nodes.
It's just different enemies, and they kind of shift as the campaign grows in difficulty. But there's no story. If you had just gone straight through the campaign, or you had taken your time and explored around, there's no difference in the story. It doesn't. There are a couple of choices here and there.
Yeah, there are choices
which are neat,
in the story,
and they do, or they can affect the story in certain places. But I just wish there was more lore. Whether it was on the cards or the world building. I love the story. I mean, I like a good dry Euro too, and I might need a good palate cleansing after this for some good Euro-y goodness. But it's a shame there's not more, and I know they are probably pressed for time. It's a small team that is working on this, so there's only so much resources they have at their disposal, and they have done quite a lot with the amount of resources they have.
It's I agree with that to a certain extent, and to be fair, I don't think we haven't experienced the whole thing, so there could be more. I think we'll get a perspective from each of the different characters, and that might add more context to the story. So I'll hold my judgment on that. I'm excited by what I see so far, but yeah, there could have been a little bit more kind of in terms of who these two characters are that we're currently controlling. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes.
Okay, so the app you have to talk about.
I was gonna just jump into the app.
Yeah, which is not an official app.
No,
but it does have an official tie. So we were given access to Forteller, which is a third-party company that does narrations for board games, and you can buy essentially for a one-time purchase. You can get the audio for Gloomhaven or for a lot of the Ryan Lockett games.
Yeah.
Or
Sleeping Gods, I think.
Sleeping Gods is on there. A bunch of other different games you can purchase. A professionally acted,
voice acted,
sound effects and music to the game that you're playing.
Right.
And so, while it is not part of this box, maybe Kickstarter backers.
It's part of one of the tiers that I think one of the higher tiers that if you back it, you get it as part of your pledge. I think you can also add it on separately if I'm not mistaken.
You can. Well, you can just download the app for free and purchase it. But what did you think of having professionally acted?
I loved it. I love it. I mean, the cutscenes in the game that you're going through the campaign are some of them are quite long and quite interconnecting and interweaving. So having that app and just kind of hitting play and setting up the the cards, because there are a lot of cards, and we'll touch on that as well. The sheer breadth of content in this game, and just in campaign 1. The enemies, and each of the enemies have their own AI deck, which behaves, and we'll chat about that maybe as well after, but that takes a little bit of time. So just hitting play and not having to read physically and sit there and straining your voice and as you're going through, it could be a little bit tedious for folks to just kind of read through and take that time. Hitting play, it kind of immerses you.
Yeah, because there's no story for a long time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a lot of story.
Yeah.
And then you're back to no story for a long time.
Right. So
it's nice to have a professional reading. It is well done.
It is very well done.
And not all the voices match the characters.
How we imagine them, maybe
a little bit. Like when you look at their faces, and then I will say, and you may want to plug your ears if you don't want us to change your experience.
No, don't say anything. Don't say anything.
But the two starter characters is very much a Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking I'm talking Christopher Nolan Batman with Adam West Robin. Right? With the original Robin.
From the Adam West series, yeah.
Like Holy Isofarian Guard Batman.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that.
Yeah,
it's still well done.
Still really well done, but it's a little bit stark, the contrast between the two characters that you're originally controlling. So that was interesting. But yeah, just kind of seeing how that's portrayed in the voice acting as it is in your head. It's different, but the voice acting is phenomenal, and it's not just the voice acting. There's kind of thematic noises, kind of sound effects, and it's very much like you're listening to an audiobook or hearing kind of a movie being enacted on audio. So it's pretty cool.
And the last thing I think we should cover is just the table space of this game.
Yeah, it is a table hog.
This is a average to large size board game table. Yeah, and it is full.
Yeah,
right. The map just fits across the table.
Yeah,
and then you always have to play with two characters. Whether you're playing solo or 2-player, you're manning both.
Yeah,
and then the enemy boards are these giant dual layered enemy boards, and each player has two large trays to keep their personal stuff on, and then you have side maps that you have to pull out once in a while and travel around on. Plus, you're going to have 3+ spiral bound books to dig through for information and for story, for rules. And then chip trays and bags. There's
a lot of components.
It is a table hog.
It takes up a lot of space. I do enjoy that mechanic of kind of when you're traveling on the map and you kind of zoom in on a city and it gives you a mini map of the city as Will just showed. So I kind of enjoy that. Kind of you're in that town now and you can kind of explore. There are a couple cool locations on the map, which which you guys will find out when you get it to the table. But it's cool, but again, yes, be prepared. You need a at least if you have a smaller table, you need a couple of side tables to put your stuff on, and you're reaching for cards and things as you're setting up enemies, so you'll need to kind of reach for those. So having all those on a small table might be a challenge, but it's all functional. I mean, looking at it now, could they have saved a little bit of space? Potentially, they could have, so certain things could have been
maybe saved a little bit of money if things were organized differently. And different choices were made.
Yeah, but it's all functional. It's easy to use. Yeah. So I'm not complaining that the things are the size that they are. They just take up a little bit of extra space on the table. So.
Yeah, and that kind of thought, I think, permeates throughout. Just the fact that it is a fairly new board game company, or a small developer, and this is their first. I don't know if it's their first project, but certainly their first big project, right. And that. You can kind of see that everywhere, right? It's ambitious, maybe overly ambitious for a first project, and they're pouring their heart into it and
absolutely
just everything they have into making this as best as they can. But they're also inexperienced, and a little bit of that comes through. But they've put enough into it that I think people are not going to be upset.
Yeah,
as long as you know what you're getting into and you're looking for this type of game.
Yeah. It is a very expansive game, as we've kind of mentioned. So there is a lot of content, and there are a lot of cards and things that you're digging through to find, what's available at each town that you're going to. You can craft certain items and weapons, and each town has a different set of offerings. Very much feels like a third-person action adventure game on PlayStation.
It is very video game-ish.
Very video game-ish kind of. I think they were going for that kind of feel where you can level up your character. There's a stat tree for each character. I won't quickly show you. You can pause on that if you want. But you're leveling up your characters as you're going up, and it's very much a skill tree that you might see in Assassin's Creed or Ghost of Tsushima, or things of that nature, where you're upgrading your character and you're going into different cities, and each city has a different blacksmith or person that you can use to level up your weapons or skills. So very, very cool how they've kind of taken that and put it on a tabletop experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's a format that probably other publishers might look into replicating and using that kind of engine. So.
Yeah, and it's not the only game of this sort out there, and it's not likely to be the last. But anyways, I think that does it for us for now. Yep. We're gonna do probably more of a overview video some other time. So if you want to take a look at that, and we may even do a video of just our experiences in working with designers and how that went and what it was like. Also, if you have any questions or comments. Anything about the game you want to know, again, we will probably not reveal any spoilers, but if you just want to know about specifics about the game or how it plays, please put that in the comments below, and thank you for watching.
See you next time.